Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to A Life of Simple Joy with Jean Ann Duckworth. A Life of Simple Joy is brought to you by Devotions to Go, spiritual fast food for women on the go. Now, here's Jean Ann.
Welcome to a new week of A Life of Simple Joy. Whoa. Wow. I am Jean Ann Duckworth, as Mr. Diva told you at the top of the show, and I'm here to help you, in general, reduce stress in your life. But right now, specifically, I'm here to help you reduce the stress of the holidays, of, getting ready for Christmas and all the unfortunate aggravation that seems to cause so many women at this time of year. I absolutely love Christmas. I love pretty much everything about it. And I know firsthand the incredible stress that can come with getting ready for Christmas. Unfortunately, as women, our lives are already just packed to the top with activity. The task we have to do, work, things around the house, activities with our families, and on. Just we're already just as busy as we can be. And unfortunately, when the holidays come around, all that doesn't go on hold. We have all the regular things we have to take care of, and the holiday things added to that. And it can just, wow. To say it overwhelms us doesn't even come close. Not by a long shot. We just, sometimes you just want to crawl into bed and pull the covers over your head like a bear in hibernation and leave a note on top saying, "Wake me on January 2nd. But no, we're not doing that this year. Instead, this year, we're going to find a better way to handle things. I'm not saying my way is the best way. I'm here to offer you a few ideas, just some food for thought. And hopefully you take the suggestions, the information, the advice, the tips, and all that other stuff, and examine it and find a way to incorporate it into your life, a way that works for you. I try very hard not to say this is how you have to do it and you should not stray from this, because I think that only causes more stress. What I would like to think, whether it's Christmas or any other time of the year, any of the advice, information that I offer, that you're able to take it and adapt it in such a way that it works for you. Because the only plan, life plan, holiday plan, any kind of plan that is truly effective is one that is specific to the situation. So I'm here to offer you tips, ideas, and more to reduce your holiday stress, and more important, to increase the joy in this time of year. Because remember, as I always say, God didn't send his son to cause me or you stress. We are celebrating, observing the 12 simple joys of Christmas. Thanksgiving weekend, I came to the startling realization that I had exactly 12 programs left until Christmas. Since Christmas falls on a Tuesday this year, and I do my program Tuesday through Thursday, I had exactly 12 programs to do, and I sat down and thought, well, what are 12 topics I could focus on for each of those, one for each show, that would help my listeners, help all of you, decrease your holiday stress. your stress this season. Last week, I talked about, I always, with me, the first step is always preparation. My phrase is work smarter, not harder. And that involves sitting down with pencil and paper and just, I take notes all the time. I write things down. I have, if you could look at my desk right here, I have all these little pieces of paper. I have this technique where I take a sheet of paper and I fold it in half lengthwise, and then I fold it in half again across to make a little booklet out of it. I find these little pieces of paper, when they're like that, are easy to carry. For grocery lists, on the front of it, I put what all it is I need, and then on the inside, I can break it down to different stores I want to go to. If I'm going to more than 3-4 stores, you do it with a second piece of paper, and you just tuck it inside, and if you have to, you use a clip, and you clip them together. It works really well for me. But I write things down, so I remember all these different things. And then I create a plan. I create calendars. I create not charts so much, but I come up with a plan so that I know systematically how to work things out, how to get things accomplished, and how to break it down into doable chunks of activity, as opposed to this huge task that has to be done. Excuse me. I find it's a lot easier. People look at what I do. Oh, you're so organized. And I tell them, no, actually, I'm not. I tend to be one of the most disorganized people you have ever met. And for that reason, I work terribly hard to stay organized, or at least when it comes to the task, not organized as far as my desk looks like, I just threw things up. And if you could look under my desk, wow. So because of that, I work very hard at it. And Christmas especially, my goodness, you blink and the next thing you know, it's the 20th or somewhere around there. And you're going, holy cow, I have baking to do and some shopping to get done, and I haven't mailed out any cards, and I haven't done any of this stuff. And I don't want that. So preparation is the first step. And these programs you can go back and listen to. And what I've done to interrupt myself, if you go to the Simple Joy website at simplejoy.org, there on the homepage is a nice little calendar table, whatever, with the 12 simple joys of Christmas listed. And as we go through, I go through each day. You can click on the talk show and listen to that. You can click on the video and watch whatever video I've associated with that day. I put recipes I share during this program will be on there. All kinds of things are on there. So it's one place where you can find it. So preparation was the first step. The second step I talked about, Simple Joy I talked about, was shopping. Shopping can overwhelm us. If you don't sit down and plan things out, it makes it terribly easy to overspend, and you do not want to do that. I was out running a few errands last night. I had to do a little grocery shopping. Found out that 6-7 o'clock in the evening is a great time to go out and run errands, because most people, it's after the work crowd has, usually if you time it at like 5, it's all the people who are rushing home from work, and the grocery stores are just packed. It's after that, it was just really quiet. It was great. I'm going to have to do that more often. I like going to the stores when I can get through, get in, get out, accomplish what I want to accomplish, because the longer you stay in stores, the more likely you are to spend more money. It's why I avoid mall crazy. I know going over there, it makes it too easy to spend, and I don't want to do that. But I was out running errands last night and listening to news radio. They were doing a story about talking to someone about credit cards and holiday spending. And I'm terribly sorry, I don't remember to whom they were speaking. But he pointed something interesting out. He was saying that if you are using credit cards to pay for Christmas, especially if you are using any of the rewards cards that carry rewards with them, whatever the reward might be, you need to plan to pay them off within the first month. If you're using them because you want the rewards, the air miles or whatever the reward might be, that's fine. But make sure you're fully prepared to pay them off right away, because rewards cards tend to carry exceptionally high interest rates, upwards of 29% interest. Just going, oh my gosh, wow! I was absolutely stunned that it's so high. So suddenly the rewards you got really isn't such a great deal because you're paying so much on the balance on your credit card. They just wanted people to make sure they understood the ramifications of using credit cards at Christmas time. Might not always be as good a deal as you thought it was. So look at that, Google it, check your interest rates, and just really be careful about that, because the worst thing in the world is the stress that comes immediately after Christmas when those bills start rolling in. Holy cow. Wow. I just realized I closed something here on my recipes, and I'm going to need those. There they are. Christmas recipes. Okay, good. And so I talked about preparation. I talked about shopping. Then last Thursday I talked about Advent. First Sunday in Advent was this past Sunday. It was terribly unusual this year because Thanksgiving was as early as it can be, falling on the 22nd. And that means usually Advent is the first Sunday after Thanksgiving, but this year there was a Sunday in between. It started the first Sunday in December. It's either the first Sunday after Thanksgiving or the first Sunday in December. The easy way to do it is there are 4 Sundays in Advent before Christmas, so you just figure it that way. And I talked about Advent being a wonderful tradition. You can begin with your family to kind of slow things down. It's a nice observation to do at the end of the day, before dinner, as you're getting ready to relax and enjoy your evening, kind of that transitional period between the rush and crush of the day and your time at home with your family. This is a way to refocus things on the family and back into the home during the holiday season. I'm real pleased. If you need information on Advent, I created a little booklet called The Simple Joy Advent, and it is on Amazon in digital form, so you can download it. I think it's only $2. Just go to Amazon, and on their drop-down menu for the different departments category, I think it's departments, go to the Kindle store and type in The Simple Joy of Advent. Oh, goodness, stretch. I was sitting here in an odd way, and it's giving me a little kink in my neck. The Simple Joy of Advent, and it should come up. You can look at it, see how you like it, and download it, should you be so inclined. While you are there, let me take care of a little business. In addition to The Simple Joy of Advent, I have put together a book called The Simple Joy of Christmas. The Advent material is included in the Christmas book. For this week, Monday, yesterday through Friday, it is a free download on Amazon. So go to Amazon into the Kindle store and type in The Simple Joy of Christmas, and it'll come up and you can download it. You do not have to have a Kindle in order to enjoy the free books. All you have to do is download the free Kindle app and have it that way. I do this. It makes it very convenient. I like doing it because that way I can have all of our books on my phone. And that way when somebody asks about one of our books, I can just, here, look, you can see it right here. But I've got Advents in there. I've got some entertaining ideas, recipes, just a lot of information in it. Simple Joy of Christmas. It is free through Friday. Go to Amazon to the Kindle store and download it today. Let me take a quick. Today I'm going to talk about the Simple Joy today is decorating outside, doing the outside of your home. Tomorrow I'm going to talk about the inside of your home, but today is the outside of your home. You're saying, well, I live in an apartment. You can still do stuff. There are still things you can do, and I'll be talking about that. But first, let me take a quick break, and then I'm going to do a recipe for you. I am Jean Ann Duckworth. This is A Life of Simple Joy. We are celebrating the 12 Simple Joys of Christmas, and I will be right back. It's over. Boy, that was quick. I'm sorry. It just gets silly sometimes. Recipes. I'm doing all kinds of recipes every day. Just to tickle your imagination, give you some ideas, something a little different to try. Sometimes we get into, I don't want to say a rut, but, you do the same cookie recipes every year. It's nice once in a while to throw something a little bit different into the mix. So I have new recipes every day. And you go to the blog at blog.simplejoy.org. I have recipes there. Some of them are my recipes that I gathered over the years, passed down in my family. Some of them are, Better Homes and Gardens, Country Living, whatever, some of the different craft. Some of those, I do links to those and just share all kinds of different recipes just to give you a lot of different ideas. I have 2 bar cookie recipes. Sometimes bar cookies are nice for a change. I like making cookies, but the problem with cookies is, number one, because it's a thicker dough, it's a little bit harder to mix up. And number 2, it's time-consuming having to bake them. It's why I always say, I personally need to double and triple recipes, and then, good heavens, I'd be hours making cookies. Not only that, it's not that I mind being hours making cookies, but I'd be hours making one kind of cookie. The time would be over, and I'd have, a dozens of hang on, just got a message from my daughter heading home. Yay. Sorry, I'm typing to her. She had an interview today, so I'm letting her know I got it. And let me message Mr. Diva and let him know that Katie's on her way home. Katie on way home. On way home. Yeah, see, sometimes life just kind of pops in real quick. Yeah, okay, so I'd be all done, and I'd have, 12 dozen chocolate chip cookies, and that was it. And I knew I wanted to make 3 or 4 other types of cookies. Now I make one batch, and I make a couple different cookies at one time. And I personally, for me, that gives me a greater sense of accomplishment, doing all of that. Cookies are just really time consuming because you got to scoop them out and, on the sheets, and it's maybe a dozen or so. I made powdered sugar cookies the other day, and it was 2 dozen that I could fit on one cookie sheet. So that worked out real well. But anyway, it's rather time consuming. Bar cookies, on the other hand, you make a pan and you're done. It's a lot quicker. So mixing it up, doing a couple of bar cookies along with the regular cookies is a real nice change up. Excuse me. It allows you to add a little more variety in your cookie mix without the time-consuming activity of having to scoop all these cookies out. So I have 2 today. One is a chocolate chip pecan, and the other one I hadn't seen this recipe in a long time, peanut butter brownies. So let me do chocolate chip pecan bars. Yes, a little tickle there. You begin with 2 cups of brown sugar, 1/3 a cup of shortening, and I'll explain that in a moment. Well, let me go back and I'll explain. 2 cups of brown sugar. If you don't do a lot of baking, brown sugar is really moist, and when you do brown sugar, you pack it, you push it down, and you keep filling the cup until it's pushed down and it's filled all the way to the top. That's why you see, when we get to the peanut butter brownies, the recipe says firmly packed brown sugar. 2 cups firmly packed brown sugar. 1/3 of a cup of shortening. What's shortening? You're not going to believe it. That's Crisco. So it's not so much butter. It's also Crisco or some equivalent therein. So yes, do 1/3 of a cup of Crisco. 1/3 of a cup of butter. And for this, because part of it is Crisco, I would do true butter with this recipe. And when you use butter, you always want to use unsalted butter because you're adding salt to the recipe. Salt is a leavening agent. It's what helps make them rise. And if you use salted butter, it throws the recipe off a little bit. 3 eggs, 2 3/4 cups of flour, 3 teaspoons of baking powder, 1/2 a teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of vanilla, 1/2 a cup of chopped pecans, and 1 6-ounce package of chocolate chips. That's a small package of chocolate chips. You're going to cream the sugar with the shortening and butter. In other words, what I would do, take the shortening and butter, put them in a bowl, and mix them together real well. Just use your mixer. And then slowly add the sugar and mix that up together. Add the eggs one at a time and beat them together, and do this until the whole mixture is nice and light and fluffy. Add the vanilla and mix well. Now, let me stop myself here. I find with most recipes, it won't tell you to add the vanilla until after you've added the dry ingredients. By that point, your mixture is really thick, and I always found it was hard getting the flavorings. Vanilla, I'll add butter flavoring. Sometimes I add almond flavoring. If you want to, you can add maple flavoring once in a while to something like the peanut butter, something like that. Oatmeal cookies are really good with a little maple flavor in them. But it will call for you to add it after you add the dry ingredients. And then it's really, you're not putting much in. What is it? A teaspoon of vanilla. It's real hard to get it to mix in to the entire recipe. Instead, I add it to the liquid ingredients before I add any dry ingredients, and then it gets mixed in really, really well. So that's just my little tip to you. You're going to sift the flour, the salt, and the baking powder together in a separate bowl so they all get mixed together really, really well. And then gradually add the dry ingredients to the butter mixture, mixing well between each addition. Beat everything really well. If you're still using your mixer, still able to, if it's not too thick by this point, then you're going to add the chocolate chips and the pecans, stir them in very well. Pour them into a 13 by 9.5 by 2 inch baking dish, one of those glass, casserole dishes. Bake at 350 degrees for 25 to 30 minutes. So preheat your oven to 350. And here's another little tip. When you are fixing these recipes, well, 2 tips for you, and I think I gave you this one the other day. The first thing you want to do, some recipes tell you preheat your oven right at the beginning of the instructions. If it doesn't, go through and look for it and turn your oven on. The other thing is both these recipes call for 350-degree ovens. And I can tell you from my experience right now, the roll cookies that you buy, like the chocolate chip and sugar cookies you get pre-made in the store, those bake in a 350 oven. What I will do is I try to do things that bake at the exact same temperature all at the same time. If by chance I'm doing something, the other day, one of the cookies I was doing bakes at 400 degrees, 450, something like that. I do that first. I preheat the oven, I get it really hot, and then I bake that, and when I'm finished with that, I turn the oven down and let it cool for about 10 minutes, and then while I'm fixing the next batch of cookies, and then I bake the next batch. But figure out what you're going to bake and look at the temperature of these things and bake those things all at one time. It makes it a whole lot easier. So look for your temperature so you can preheat your oven. Bake similar items that need to be baked in the exact same temperature all at the same time. All right. 25 to 30 minutes you bake this. Do not over bake. They'll just be hideous. Then if you want to, you can frost with chocolate frosting and sprinkle the top of it with chocolate chips. You can even sprinkle the top of it with some more crushed nuts. It makes it an interesting appearance. So chocolate chip pecan bars, you can find this recipe, the link for it on the homepage at simplejoy.org, or you can find it in today's listings for my blog at blog.simplejoy.org. Let me take a break, and then we'll get started with decorating outside. All right. I tell you all the time I live in Old Town Orange, the city of Orange, in the county of Orange, yes, COC, in California, Southern California. We are the county between Los Angeles and San Diego. Old Town Orange is a large historic district. We have a lot of houses. On the historic registry, the entire neighborhood's on the historic registry. We take Christmas decorating terribly serious here in Old Town. People just go kind of crazy, but tastefully so for the most part. It's just very, very pretty. I like walking around at night and looking at the decorations. I like last night driving around, it was really nice looking at everything and seeing what all it was that people had done to their houses over the weekend. It did rain here over the weekend, so perhaps there wasn't quite as many decorations as there could have been, but still very nice. It's possible for you to decorate the outside of your house without going absolutely insane. It doesn't have to look like Clark Griswold's house in Christmas Vacation. Every square inch of the house doesn't have to be decorated. You don't have to go out and buy absolutely every lighted figure that exists in order to make your house Christmassy. And you don't have to synchronize your house with something from, Mannheim Steamroller to get in the holiday spirit. It can be very simple to somewhat more elaborate, depending on what works for you, what works for your residents, and what you have time to accomplish, which is probably the biggest thing. To begin, step number 1, do a survey of your property, whether it's an apartment, a condo, a home, a small little home, a big home, whatever it might be. Look around, see what it looks like, determine what you have, where you can put decorations, get an idea what you think you might want to do and how it can be accomplished with your property. So, the first step is to look around and decide what you can do with your property. And you can do anything. If you live in an apartment, you can do things. When I say outside decoration, it means it's things that can be seen on the outside. So, you might put, when we lived in our apartment, we'd put lights around the inside of the window. So there were all kinds of things you can do. It doesn't necessarily have to be outside, but it can be seen outside. So survey and decide what it is you can do. Sorry, I need a sip of my juice. All right. The next step is to do an initial inventory. Get down the decorations, go through, and, with your list, you do a survey, take some notes while you're doing your survey, and determine what it is you have that can help you accomplish what it is you want to do. If you've got these ideas for doing some elaborate decorations and you only have one tiny box of Christmas, you may have to rethink things. So you kind of have to sync up what it is you want to do with what it is you have and what resources are available to you. You might not be in a position to go out and spend a lot of money buying a lot of Christmas lights right now. But you can always plan for the future. One of the nice things about Christmas decorating is the fact that it's a building process. If you're just starting out doing this, don't overwhelm yourself by doing some big elaborate project. Do something very simple the first year, and then start building on it in future years. I'm looking at some of my tips here. Well, I'll do a tip. So you develop your initial plan. You realize you do your survey, you do your inventory, you realize you really don't have what you need to be able to do it. You can plan ahead for the future. Simple tip, when stuff starts getting marked down, Christmas lights start getting marked down, start buying a few things along. Planning, for example, a number of years ago, we bought the net lights to go over the evergreens in front of our porch. And that made things, so much easier. So much easier. So, we had other ways, Mr. Diva had other ways he was doing these decorations, but that was the way it made it a lot simpler for him. But it's a process. Every year it's a process. We've lived in this house 14 years, and it kind of changes as we go along. things. He was asking me today, what is it you want outside? And I used a lot of white lights in the house, which I'll talk about tomorrow. Outside, I think I want to do the colored lights this year. So we're going to kind of mix things up a little bit this year. So you start by taking a survey, you do an inventory of what it is, and do your homework. Go online and start looking at some of the decorating ideas. See what's available out there. Lights change. When we were first married, the strings of lights, that was it. That was all you could get. Now you have, the icicles, you have the net lights, you have the rope lights. So there are a lot of different things you can do to decorate your home. If you really don't have a whole lot of resources available right now, then perhaps what you want to do, if you're in a position where you can buy a few things, is to get 2-4 boxes of a certain kind of light that gives you, as they say, more bang for your buck. Something that allows you to do a little bit more, something a little more wow with your house with fewer lights. So do your homework, look and see some of the different decorations, some of the different ideas that are out there, and then some of the different types of lights that are available to you. I find Better Homes and Gardens has a lot of really, really good tips when it comes to things like this. So check out their website and see what they say. Now let me look at my simple tips. Okay, simple tip, be creative. I was seeing these little, like Christmas trees, short Christmas trees that people would put on either side of their entryway. And I thought they were really cute. But I didn't want to spend $30 to buy any, and I didn't want to have to really store them if I didn't have to. So I started thinking about it, and what I'm in the process of doing, and when I'll finish it today and take photos of it, is I took 2 plastic pots, large flower pots, and I flipped them over and I spray painted them black. And I took 2 tomato cages and mushed them down upside down on top of the flower pots, and took the 3 prongs that go into the ground and brought them together and wired them together, and I spray painted the whole contraption black. And today I'm going to add lights to them and make my own little Christmas trees. In broad daylight, what do they look like? Well, maybe not the greatest thing in the world, but it doesn't matter. It's when I put the flower lights on them and they get all lit up. That's what matters. That's what I'm interested in seeing. So I figure if I put lots of lights on them, they'll look really cute. So you can be creative. There's all sorts of things you can do, you can accomplish with your own kind of resources. You don't have to go out. This is why I say do your homework. Go and look at some of the different decorations that are out there, some of the different decorations that are available, and ask yourself, is there a way I can do this myself without having to buy, a $30, $40, $50 decoration? We have at our house lots of Christmas lights. Over the years, we've gotten some lights, some closeouts, we've bought case lots. So we have a lot of lights. I do a lot of things with lights. You're going to see some of the different things I did with lights inside the house. I like Christmas lights. I think it's an inexpensive way to add a lot of cheer to your home. So I use the lights. They're there. I get creative with them. So be creative. You've got to make this work for you. It's not what anybody else says. This is about you and your family, what you all like, what appeals to you, and more important, what works for you. So do a survey, do an inventory of what you have, then do your homework and see what's available and how you can make this work. Number 5, develop an initial plan. Just, kind of what it is you'd like to do, what you think you might do, just an initial plan. This one isn't carved in granite. Then talk it out, figure out what's going to work, how this can work, how you can make it work, all of that. Number 6, go back and do another inventory. The initial inventory was just what we have. Now you've got kind of a plan going. You see, sometimes it's a bit of a back and forth sort of thing. Now you've got a plan going. You kind of know what it is you want to do with your house. See what resources you have. I saw a picture of something, and then I saw it again in the store, where it was just a plain board with distressed paint, and it was set up lengthwise, the long ways up against the entryway of a house, and it had the word joy written on it. And I looked at that and I said, I could do that. We have wood, lots of wood. So I'm going to take a piece of wood and paint it and then distress it out, and then, put the word joy on it. Why would I want to spend, and they're charging a fortune for this, when it's just wooden paint? Some of the little figures you see, wooden figures, you can make, if your husband, somebody in your family, maybe it's you, is handy with power tools, you might be able to cut out and make some little figures to go on your lawn without having to go out and buy them. And sometimes I think things that you make are much more creative. So once you've done your homework and you see the direction you want to go and you've got your plan, inventory what you have again and include everything. My flower pots and tomato cages, the pile of wood sitting on the side of the house, all of that counts in for my decorations. I already have wreaths. How can I redo these wreaths if I want to fit in with the decorations I want to do? What else can I use to be able to decorate my home? Start looking at things and thinking about things and kind of go off in that direction and do that inventory, including things you might not have thought of otherwise. No, I'm going to include that. I saw a cute little wreath, but I think it works better inside. So I'll talk about it tomorrow. Tip, 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 tip. I'm going to talk about that. Let's see. Thrift stores. Shop around some of the thrift stores and see what you can find near. Just get out now, because a lot of them put their Christmas stuff out very early, and it gets snapped up quickly. So go to the thrift stores very early and look around and see what it is they have in the way of Christmas decorations that you might be able to use. They might even have lights, so check things out. All right. Now you're going to create your final plan. What it is you want to do, how you want to decorate the house. Sit down and talk it over. I think this should be a team effort. Kids can help untangle lights. Kids can replace broken light bulbs if they're big enough. The kids are. If your hubby's working on the house like Mr. Diva does and going up on the roof on the ladder, somebody has to be a spotter. Don't ever let anybody climb on the roof on a ladder, a family member, without somebody being out there keeping an eye on things, because you never know what's going to happen. Even something as simple as a ladder falling over and them getting stuck on the cold roof for a couple hours, you don't want that. So always have a spotter, which is one of my tips. Safety, and that's going to be the video today. Mr. Diva and I had some fun a couple of years ago doing a safety first video for Christmas. It was silly, but I always enjoy watching it and what we did. It was just kind of crazy. But I wanted to make a point that you really, really have to be careful. You're dealing with lights, you're electricity. I know they show this, but geez, I would be really hesitant to use a stapler and staple Christmas lights, because if you break through the casing, the outside casing of the lights, and that staple hits the wire, you have a problem. So create a plan, talk it over with your family, and then do a schedule. You know, all of this doesn't have to be done in one big fell swoop. That's one of my simple tips, and it's one of the things I get after Mr. Diva about. Do the outside decorating in phases, so that if something comes up, if you get part of the lights up and you take a break and then it starts raining or it starts snowing or the wind starts blowing, something happens and you don't have a chance to get back to it, it doesn't look half finished. You actually have a finished project that looks fine if that's all you get done. And then if you have a chance and can go back and add more to it, so be it. Yay, that's great. But plan out your outside decorating in phases so that if anything interrupts what it is you're doing, it's not a problem. Let me take a moment and talk about smaller residents. You live in an apartment, a condo, something like that. How do you decorate? Well, if you have any kind of balcony, you can always do lights around the balcony. You can put some kind of small tree out there, a live tree that can then stay out there the rest of the year. Goodness. Oh, my. Do lights around the window. You can put your Christmas tree in the window and open the curtains so that people can see it from the outside. Even just center it so that the curtains are open just partially and the tree kind of blocks them from seeing in the house. There are all sorts of things you can do in your house, in your apartment, to give outside decorations. So put a wreath on your door, put lights around your front door, be creative. Stop and think about it and think about some of the different things you can do and then go for it. Have some fun with it. Just because you don't live in a house, own your own place, it doesn't mean you can't decorate outside for Christmas and share holiday cheer with everyone. I'll do my peanut butter brownies and then I'll finish up. Peanut butter brownies. You're going to begin with 1/3 of a cup of butter, 1/2 cup of peanut butter, 1 cup of sugar, 1/4 cup of firmly packed brown sugar, 2 eggs, 1 cup of sifted flour, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 1 package of semi-sweet chocolate chips. I'd use a 6-ounce package, and 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla. Beat the butter and peanut butter together until light. So, you beat it until it gets nice and fluffy. Then gradually add the sugar and brown sugar, creaming well. What I do, I think I told you I have a set of nested bowls that I use when I bake. I take one of those bowls and I put the sugar and brown sugar in together, and with my hands, because brown sugar's moist, or you can use a spatula, just sort and mix them together really well, and then add them gradually to the butter and peanut butter. Add the eggs one at a time, beating the mixture well after each addition. Then add the vanilla. Sift flour, baking powder, and salt together in a separate bowl. Now, let me point this out. This recipe calls for 1 cup of sifted flour. Before you sift the baking powder and salt together, take your flour and you're going to sift it. What I do is I put it in my little sifter strainer I put a sheet of wax paper down and I sift the flour out, and then you're going to measure it. Now, what you have to do is you want to be very gentle. I take a spatula, a metal spatula, and I carefully scoop the flour up and very gently put it in the measuring cup. The reason this is sifted flour is lighter than unsifted flour, and you don't want to lose that. A cup of sifted flour is going to be a little less than just measuring a cup of flour out of the package, packing it down, scraping the top of it off, and going from there. So you very gently want to put it in your measuring cup, tap it very lightly to kind of get it to go down, scrape the top of it to smooth it off, and that's your sifted 1 cup of sifted flour. Then, again, put it in the strainer, in the sifter, add the baking powder and the salt, and sift those together and mix them up very well. Add gradually to the peanut butter mixture, mixing well. Then you're going to add the chocolate chips. Spread this mixture into a well-greased 9-inch pan. Bake at 350 degrees for 30 to 35 minutes. Let them cool and cut into squares. Peanut butter brownies. Yummy, yummy, yummy. Peanut butter jelly time. Sorry. No, I have that stuck in my head. Oh, my goodness. Okay, so taking a survey of your place. Goodness, this thing is just not in a good spot. There, survey of your place. You're going to do an initial inventory of all the things you have you can use for decorations. Then you're going to do your homework to see what kind of lights are available, get some more ideas, create your initial plan, do an inventory to see what you have that fits in with that initial plan, then develop your final plan and create a schedule. Now it's time to get to work. As I said, you want to do this in phases. It doesn't all have to be done at one time. You don't have to kill yourself over this. Just kind of work on it along. So that, you know, if you're doing it over a weekend, you do part of it on Saturday, and, you know, by Saturday evening, you should be able to turn the lights on and it looks great. And then Sunday, you do a little more to it. And then enjoy. There's nothing I like better than being able to walk across the street and turn around and admire my house. Putting up the Christmas lights is one of the gifts Mr. Diva gives me for Christmas every year. He gets very busy. He works in a church. He gets very, very busy at Christmas time. But he takes the time out of his schedule to do this for me. And I tell him every year, it's a present he gives to me. Let me see my simple tips. So be creative. See what it is you have around, already have on hand, that you can use, and be creative with it. Make little signs, make wreaths, all kinds of things you can do. Do it in phases. Remember safety. Safety is just paramount, especially if it involves climbing up on ladders. I can't emphasize it enough. Ladders and electrical equipment. Holy cow. Get everyone in the family involved. Little kids can replace burned out bulbs. Older kids can be spotters when, you know, dad or mom, whoever is going up on the ladder. And speaking of bulbs, when I was doing the inside of the house, when you're working with lights, pull an extension cord outside. Before you put up any strand of light, plug it in and make sure it works. Sometimes the way the lights are nowadays, they're not such anymore where if a light bulb's burned out, it doesn't work. Thank heavens. That was a pain. But sometimes, I don't know what word to use, I'm not sure, but the strand lights will be on, like, when I say different circuits, half of a strand will be out and the other half will work. There's nothing worse than getting a string of lights put up, and then you plug your lights in and you realize, you know, a couple of them are dorked up. Something's wrong with them. Man, don't do that to yourself. It's just really frustrating. It only takes a second to plug them in, make sure they work, and then you put them up. Visit thrift stores and see what you can find there that can be used for decorations. And go to the small stores. I like going to Big Lots. They often have really, really good deals on Christmas lights. I go to Dollar Tree and get different decorations. See what I can use with those. That's where I get a lot of the flowers that I use for my wreaths. I also go to specialty stores, some of these florist supply places where I can get discounts on things. So, shop around, talk to your friends, see where they find things, find out what the best deals are in your area, so that you can do what you want within reason and not spend a small fortune on it. You can have a wonderful outside to your house and be able to enjoy it. I like being able to sit outside. Living in Southern California, it's not like, it's not Chicago. The wind's not blowing and, snow bashing me or anything. But even if it was, I'd probably still sit outside and enjoy myself. You can sit outside and relax and enjoy yourself and enjoy your decorations. Let's see. I have an article here. Do I want to share this? Do I want to do other things? I think I'll do a couple other things instead. Let me click this shut so I'm not tempted. I'm only going to go for an hour today, maybe slightly over if I start yattering on and forget. If you have any questions during the week, you can always message me here at Blog Talk Radio. You can email me at jeanann@simplejoy.org. I'm more than happy to answer your questions. If you have a recipe you'd like to share, send it on. I will share it here on the program and give you full credit for it. I don't want to take credit for somebody else's work. So, yeah, I'll give you credit. Send me your recipes. I like creative recipes, especially if you live in another part of the country. I'd love to know what some of the traditions are in other parts of the country. What do you do on Christmas Eve? What do you do this time of year to observe the season? What do they do in your community? Sunday night was the big tree lighting ceremony down on the plaza here in Old Town Orange. I'm telling you, the plaza, it's all that's missing this time of year is the snow and George Bailey running down the street saying, "Merry Christmas, Bedford Falls." You walk on the plaza, especially at night when everything's lit up and you feel like you step back in time. I'll go down and take some photos and post them so you can see. It's astonishing. People are just overwhelmed when they see it. I can't do it justice. No matter what I say, you're not going to believe it until you see it for yourself. It's pretty amazing. It's pretty special. Let me know what some of the traditions are in your area. How does your community celebrate the holidays? What kind of things are going on in other parts of the country? What are some of the favorite dishes? Is there something special, a cookie, casserole, something you always fix for Christmas? Write to me about it and let me share it with all the other listeners. I want to know what's going on in other parts of the country and how you celebrate Christmas. Send me pictures of your decorations and I'll put them up on the blog so everybody can see them. You're outside. Let me see what your house looks like. You can send a video if you want, and I'll, if you've got it on your site, send me a photo of it, and then I'll post a link to you. Let me see some of the different things that are going on at your house, in your community this Christmas. It's an incredible time of the year, but it's interesting how we all kind of do it a little bit different. And it's what makes it fun. It must be almost time to finish. My juice is almost gone, and I can't keep going without my juice. Today was decorating the outside of the house. Tomorrow is decorating the inside of the house. You can have a lot of fun with that, and I'll show you how. And it doesn't even have to cost you a whole lot of money. You can just use what it is you have. So let me find Mr. Diva here. We'll get out of here. I'm Ann Duckworth from
Thank you for joining us for A Life of Simple Joy. A Life of Simple Joy is brought to you by Devotions to Go. Small enough to fit in your hand, powerful enough to fill you with the Word of God each day. A Life of Simple Joy is a production of C Media. And thank you for listening.
Oh, sweet Pearl.